Hey everyone, welcome to In the Chute. This is where we have some hot topic ready to go. The head catch gets opened up. Kalen tries to stump me and go, Kalen.
All right. So we had a discussion with Greg and Bert. We had some guests home at the ranch over the branding season, and this will air shortly after the first episode of the two-parter. We'll end up having 3 hangouts total of them enjoying the before portion, and we got into some detailed stuff with them in terms of the overall market with the cattle industry and so on and so forth. But that'll be kind of their expectations leading up to branding on the first and second Sunday of this July. And then the third will be kind of what they experienced and what they thought. So I wanted to kind of get Dad's take because we mostly focused on them. And so for the next 14 minutes, what Dad thought about having guests over to visit. And we didn't just have them either. When branding day actually occurred, we had quite a few people who had never branded before, got to do some vaccinations and do some personal brands their own with Dad's supervision, and they got to experience it in a whole new light as well. So I just kind of want to see what his thoughts were on having some of the outsiders come and visit us and join us and get to experience some of that stuff for the very first time through physical experience rather than the virtual cyber experience.
Yeah. It's interesting because we always have help. We got friends and family that it's always good to get together. It's an event, for them and for us because we get to see people, and then we get some work knocked out, important work that we can't do just with. Well, we could do it with just a couple, 3 people, but it would be a long, arduous day. So, a lot of fun. It's stressful, believe it or not, because you've got all these extra people that don't necessarily know what to do, and you want to have everything work right. The top priority is nobody getting hurt. And
Mhm.
sometimes people who don't understand or really know behavior of animals or what can happen, you got to watch out for them. So there's that aspect of it. A lot of activity, a lot of people. I mean, we had almost 30 people here, of which probably, most are complete novices. Some, had worked some cattle before at other brandings, but that's not
Right.
necessarily working cattle. That's just, you know, pushing a calf up a chute. And there's a good way to do it, and there's a not so good way to do it too. So they learn along it. But I kind of had a talk with Greg and Bert ahead of time, which we didn't air. It's funny, we get to talking with them, and they're like, we are all of these questions come up and we go off the rails. We don't stay on topic. I mean, it's fun. It's just really fun to be with them and talk about all of the things they were curious about. So I told them right off, I said, look, this is kind of dangerous work. Um, it's not predictable. It is manageable, but don't take it the wrong way. If somebody says you need to move, you need to get out of there, get to your right, don't ask why. Just do it because it's for your own safety. And they were kind of surprised by that a little bit. And then I explained, some possible typical scenarios, and they went, "Oh, okay." So, they were going to be with us the longest, and I think had them and probably 4 or 5 other people that were absolute raw novices that had never attended a branding, but were brought by other people that we'd invited, and which is great. We want to show people what we do, and some appreciation for the ag community. And so with them, it's kind of more on the fly in the moment. We have a little briefing about, okay, you want to do what? You'd like to vaccinate? Really? Okay. And so here's a crash course. And we got a friend of ours that is very good at doing the vaccinations. She's done it every year for us for a number of years. And I said, Marcia, got a job for you, hon. And she takes everything serious. I mean, she's really good at it. And she goes, I said, just kind of monitor and show them how, and I'll mix the vaccines up, because I feel better about if I make a mistake about blowing a bottle up, it's me making this big mistake, not
Yeah.
somebody else. So, I load the bottles for them to begin with, and then it's pretty easy to do it afterwards, and put her on supervision. And she had 2 people who had never given shots before, doing it. And it was awesome. I mean, she was very patient with them. They got a kick out of it. They didn't want to hurt the calves at
Right.
first, but they knew it was necessary. I
Don't
mean, it's
hurt the
just that
babies.
the babies, exactly. So they jumped right in there, and the next thing you know, I mean, they're wielding that vaccine gun around like it was no big deal, keeping the needle pointed in the right direction, not poking anybody, being careful, being very diligent about, did I give that shot or not? So uh, really, it was really good, and it was good for them. So same thing with the branding is a little bit more um, selective. I'll ask if somebody wants to do that, and if they do, great. Then I will help them, because you don't want to smear a brand all over the place, and you don't want to unduly leave a hot iron on an animal longer than you need to. So you kind of help them out with that. And then there's a couple of smaller ones that you wrestle down, and don't use the chute because or the calf table, because it's much easier to do it otherwise. So some people got to wrestle a calf.
Well, and I think that's the other thing too, is one day we might end up having enough people that we can wrestle, and enough experienced people at that. That's kind of the important thing. But the some of the guys that were helping with the chute I don't think they're very experienced with the chute by the way they dealt with the cows and the cattle. They've been to brandings, like you said before. Um, and so they know how to wrestle, but they've never really done the chute work. And that's where I got frustrated a couple times, because I know how to do that thing, and I've always done that from the beginning. And I got graduated, and I got told, hey, you need to start doing something other than that. So me being there, I was like, hey, there's a way to do this. And when I wasn't seeing it done a certain way, I looked at you a couple times like, do you want me to go in there? Like, nope, they got to figure it out. I'm like, oh, it's really hard for me to do, because it was starting to irritate me, because we had weather coming in, and it was like, come on, let's go. We got to get this going.
Well, and I think what you're talking about is not having a calf ready to go in the chute immediately when you turn the other one out.
Well, and the other thing too is like their safety. They
Yep.
keep giving themselves distance, and I'm like, guys, I know you're 20 some years old, but that's gonna hurt you if you don't get close to that animal, because trust me, they kick and they
Those
will
little
hurt
buggers will
you.
kick. Oh yeah, they'll kick, and if you're right close to them, I used to like to just keep my thighs
Yeah,
or hips next to their hips and just keep pushing them. And the closer you are, yeah, they'll kick you, but it doesn't hurt near like it would if you're standing back a foot or so, and they really nail you right on the shin bone.
right.
But the other part, when I was a kid pushing cattle up a chute, because everybody starts there. That's where you learn. Is if you didn't have a calf ready immediately, I mean, you stood there with a calf waiting to go in the chute, you would get your butt reamed by
Yeah.
some of these older guys, because it's all about time. And yeah, we were finding and looking for that window of opportunity where we could get these calves branded without them being wet, and we'd have to stop or couldn't do it altogether. So we got very, very lucky that way. But yeah, I'm watching the clouds. I'm watching some storms start to come in towards the end, that last dozen calves or so, and you can feel the pressure there without getting anybody hurt, and for them it's fun. For us it's kind of work, but it's fun, and getting everything to move really well. People listen. They'll do what you ask them to do, which is really, a really nice thing. That um, there is that, hey, this is your place. And I do this with other people that I know. I was like, it's not the way we do things, but this is yours. You tell me what you want, and I'll do it exactly the way you tell me to do. And everybody is very, very good about that. Um, you just have different personalities, and people getting to know each other, and experience things. And of course, then we had a little food afterwards and some drink. And I believe we're so starved here for rain that there was a group of us out standing outside away from the house, and we'd eaten, and everybody had a beer in their hand, and we were all smoking cigars standing in the rain. It felt so good to have the work done and having it raining, that we just stood there, and at night it wasn't pouring down, but it was a nice
It was like a little
light rain.
mist.
Yeah, a little mist, and it just was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah. So what was there any big frustration that you had during the whole experience? I know the post part, we ended up having to resort the cows and push them.
Yeah.
But other than
Yeah.
that, what did you have any frustrations with the whole process or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, things happen, but you just got to roll with it. You can't let the small things, little details bother you. That's where you have to learn as you get older.
I mean, I agreed with you on the personnel part. It was stressing me out a little bit, because I was like, I don't know, because I agree with you. A lot of it was safety. I was like, I don't want these people near the pot, and I don't want them near the head catch, because they can get things pinched or burned. And then the other thing was, too many people, the calves won't pop out, which we ended up having that problem because people were still standing in front of the head catch.
Right.
And we did struggle getting the calves to leave the head catch because people were standing right there. So
Right.
trying to manage bodies and put them in places without being disrespectful, but being appreciative of their presence. It's a delicate thing that me at 28, I'm not so good at right now. Maybe one day, but yeah, I was stressing out about that because we had a lot of people for the event.
And I think you're used to being the captain and can point your finger and have things happen.
Yeah.
That doesn't work all that well in the civil.
Not with family. It's really hard to tell family.
Well, yeah, and for some perspective of why there were people standing in front of the head catch, we put a row of panels up because when we first sorted cows that morning, I'm setting and sending select cattle to different pastures, and we start at that process right there. We might as well sort there. So I'm sorting out the cattle by ear tags to go into 3 different groups, because one pasture we can only have 50 pair in there. Another one we've got just heifers that we don't want bred, and then another one of some other cows that'll go into some other pastures that are a little closer. And so we have panels set up right dead center in front of the head catch, where we can just turn a panel one way or the other and sort the calves to the appropriate cows as they come out of the chute. And that way we're segregated, we're already cut out. Just makes it a little bit more easy to do that. And so sometimes people will stand there wanting to push those calves one way or the other, and they're in their eyesight vision right in front of them. The calf's like, I'm not moving. There's no way I'm going out there again. So, there's some of that, but at the same time, some miscommunication about where some of these calves were supposed to go. So we turned everybody in the selective pastures we wanted. And there were calves and cows that were working the fence kind of hard. And I'm like, what the heck? So I went out there, and there were some calves that were they just got sent the wrong direction where the cows were. So we brought them in the next day and then resorted. And then we went on over to the leases with the one and just kind of got them separated, and everything worked well that way.
Thankfully, because that is another stressful event, which we don't like to duplicate. Thankfully, it was cool enough that it wasn't undue stress more than necessary, because that could be a whole nother issue of doing it in the heat, lack of water. So yeah, that I was thankful for that for sure.
But. Well, one pain about that was just having to bring everybody in and sort them again. We had to sort calves and the cows, and it went, and like you say, it was cool, it was nice, it went as well as we could possibly do. And Greg and Bert got another chance to sort cattle and a different way to sort the calves, because you sort them a little bit differently than you do the cows. You can afford to load the alley up a little bit and then just walk into them and send them down the appropriate side. So yeah, it was kind of a little extra bonus for them that was not so much of a bonus for us.
Yeah, well, with that is the take on our branding season of 2022, and we will put this conversation out the pasture.